Good afternoon, Rumblers. This is producer Tate Brown, holding it down for Tim Pool for your noon Timcast live show. Tim's voice is going again. This dude has been grinding. He grinded out like 9 segments yesterday. Fortunately, it cost the voice. These things happen. When you're in the commentary space. There's only so much you can do, especially with another Culture War Live event coming up. He's got to lock in. So holding it down from today. We got some big stories. Obviously, the big story today is the Trump census debacle. Will Trump get the new census in without illegals on it? Let's we'll dive into the story. We'll see what the outcome could be. That's going to be big. Also, Maha. Yeah, that's right. Maha, Make America Healthy Again. RFK, Rollins, they've been cooking up. They've been sorting out the SNAP situation. People have been buying a lot of junk food on SNAP EBT for years. People are mad about it. There's some great videos out there that we'll take a look at. But yeah, we got a bunch of stories. But before we get into it, let's take a look at our sponsors here. Boonies skateboards. We got the uncancelable board. Now, the lore behind this board. Oh, hang on. Let me see. I'm not disciplined enough to stay in the little frame thing here. The uncancelable board, I don't know if you know the lore here. This was a skating icon. I'm not a skater, but I've grown to appreciate this. This was a skating icon by the brand Independent for decades. It was iconic. People had tattoos of it. They had shirts of it. And in recent years, it got canceled, I guess, because it looks kind of like maybe an Iron Cross. I don't know. But people got scared, so they canceled the logo or whatever. Well, we're taking it back, right? This is a new era. Cancel culture is over. And this is Exhibit A. We're taking back the logo. We got the uncancelable board here. You got to get you one. This thing is sick. It's kind of a middle finger to cancel culture when you really think about it. So I'd recommend picking one up. Even if you're not a skater, it's still about sending a message, right? You can put it on your wall. I don't know what you want to do with it, but I would recommend grabbing one. Head over to Boonies, shop.boonieshq.com. Get you one. We also got the Culture War podcast live. This is we've done the Triple Crown. We got the third show coming up on Saturday. This is gonna be a big show, so you got to grab your tickets. It's the feminism debate, right? This is gonna be probably the most hot, the most tense. It's gonna get a little spicy. We got Myron Gaines, we got Kat Timpf, and we got Kyla Turner. We did talk to Kat Timpf for position. The question is feminism bad? Has feminism destroyed society? Has feminism destroyed America? And Kat Timpf's position is no. And Myron Gaines, probably quite predictable what his take is. So yeah, I'd recommend being there. You got to see it. So grab you some tickets coming up on Saturday. The preferred seating sold out, but we should still have quite a bit. Man, I don't know. I don't know how many general admission seats we have left, but get them now because there's, I think, a good chance this thing will sell out quite soon. So yeah, head on over to timcastevents.com, get you some tickets. Let's get into this first story. And shout out Steven Crowder for the raid. Sometimes I forget. See, I'm a rookie, so sometimes I forget these things. Steven Crowder, appreciate you for the raid, man. Let's get into it from the Post-Millennial. Breaking: Trump orders new census that does not count illegal immigrants. In an early morning Truth Social post on Thursday, President Donald Trump called for a new census that only counts American citizens and not those who are, quote, in our country illegally. Some congressional lawmakers have also called for this measure to be implemented, as the counting of illegal immigrants in many states boosts the numbers of House representatives for those states. Quote, I have instructed our Department of Commerce to immediately begin work on a new and highly accurate census based on modern-day facts and figures, and importantly, using the results and information gained from the presidential election of 2024. People who are in our country illegally will not be counted in the census. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Side note, I love thank you for your attention to this matter. I've been signing off text messages with this. When I pay rent for my landlord, I sign off with that. It's just, it really sets the tone for what you're trying to say. It's a beautiful thing. So thank you, President Trump, for giving us this great closer for all of our text messages. The U.S. Census is conducted every 10 years and is used to determine apportionment. Yeah, that's the word, right? Apportionment. It's a good word. Apportionment in Congress, and also to determine the distribution of federal funding to states and localities. Governments use it for planning purposes as well as in terms of infrastructure, housing, and schools. It gives a glimpse into the national population makeup, as sex, which is blurred for some reason. Sex and race are among the questions on the census form. So This is all kicked off with the Texas redistricting, which we've been covering extensively here at Timcast. Obviously, Greg Abbott is fed up. He wants to go on the offense. He's tired of seeing Republicans just play defense or panic. A lot of panicans. He's gone on the offense. He's saying, no, if they're gonna root our rightful representatives out of their states, we're going to do the same in ours. So he's gone on the offense. He wants to call a special session to do a mid-decade redistricting, which is, to be fair, is unprecedented, but we live in unprecedented times. And this has obviously caused a huge meltdown. And it's rehashed this goal of the Trump administration from the previous term rather, to implement a census that doesn't count illegal immigrants. If you remember in 2019, I have the article here from Politico, and this is the article from 2019, is Trump did direct the Department of Commerce to take a census without illegal immigrants, and the SCOTUS obviously struck that down. Let's just take a trip down memory lane here from Politico. The Supreme Court on Thursday dealt an unexpected blow to the administration's attempt to add a citizenship question to the 2020 census, prompting a threat by President Donald Trump to delay the count. In a surprising decision, Chief Justice John Roberts joined the court's liberals in ruling that official explanations for the move were implausible and legally inadequate. The High Court returned the case to lower courts for further action, raising doubts about the administration getting the go-ahead to add the question before the upcoming deadlines to finalize the census questionnaire. Now, the big tension back in 2019 when this was unfolding was there was a hard deadline for the Trump admin. They had a certain point in which they had to get all their ducks in a row to conduct the census, and they cut it pretty tight. Obviously, the SCOTUS ended up weighing in, but the difference between this and now is the deadline for the next census is 5 years out, for 4 or 5 years out from now. So we have plenty of time to provide, because the concern of the Supreme Court in 2019, whether you agree or not, their concern was this was politically motivated. This wasn't actually a matter of law. There was, they weren't trying to answer a constitutional question or quagmire. They were just simply trying to achieve something political. And, regardless of how you feel about that, it does appear to be a little different this go around, because obviously after the census, we've seen a lot of calamity. This is the big one. This is from Aiden Buzzetti. He pointed this out. The 2020 census significantly overcounted blue states and undercounted red states. Rhode Island and Minnesota both kept a seat they should have lost. Colorado got a new seat they shouldn't have at all. More importantly, Florida lost out on 2 seats and Texas on 1, which would have been a stronger Republican majority. And here's the map here from Pew Research. You can see a lot of these states that got undercounted. I mean, Arkansas, Tennessee, Mississippi, Texas, Florida. I mean, those are solid red states. The only blue state that got undercounted was Illinois. And then if you look at the states here that were overcounted, you have Hawaii, Utah, Minnesota, Ohio, Delaware, New York, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts. The only red states being solid red being Utah and Ohio. The rest of them are deep blue, obviously. Especially Hawaii being overcounted by 7 points. And they're I think they're the bluest state in the country, statistically. So obviously this is a different ballgame from 2019, because the census has clearly demonstrated that there's issues, there's errors that need to be accounted for. Even besides the question about illegal immigrants, there's a solid justification here to actually conduct a new census anyway, just to correct this mess. This is also from Pew Research. This is kind of getting in the nitty-gritty on what they call unauthorized immigrants, as we call them patriots, as we call them illegal immigrants. There's kind of this back and forth on Twitter is like, how much of an advantage do Democrats really have by counting illegal immigrants? Because to be fair, Texas and Florida do have a lot of illegal immigrants as well. And so this is research from Pew, is what it is. They're covering the population change, the projected change in congressional seats after the 2020 census, and they have this column here for unauthorized immigrants. So if we conducted the census without unauthorized immigrants, Texas would actually gain 1 less seat, Florida would gain 1 less seat, California would lose a seat. But Bama, Minnesota, and Ohio would pick up a seat if we didn't factor this in. So is this a game changer? At least for the House? I mean, we're talking about maybe 2 or 3 seats. That adds up, because if you take a look here at the House, it is pretty tight. I mean, it's a little too close for comfort here. You need 218 for a majority. Republicans have 219. So it's pretty tight. I think, look, we're in a dogfight right now. We're in a knife fight. Abbott knows what time it is. Trump obviously knows what time it is. And any seat you can pick up is worth it. This is worth doing. But it's more importantly is like what's at stake here when you're talking about should we count illegal immigrants? Because it's not just for House seats. I mean, there's a lot of federal funding. There's a lot of funding in general, a lot of institutions that use census data as an anchor for all the information and data that they use when they're allocating resources. And when you have illegals on the rolls of these censuses, it's going to cause a lot of issues. It's going to cause Native Americans to be completely ripped off and rinsed on a lot of different things. Also, I suspect, I think a big fear. I think, but a lot of people think this. The big fear from Democrats is that if we actually do conduct a census more accurately, I think the official count of illegal immigrants may be far higher than people realize. This has been speculated by a lot of people for a long time. I mean, obviously, you see the videos from Los Angeles right after the raids where you had like the highway just wide open. If there truly was 12 million illegals in the country, which is the most mainstream projections, you wouldn't expect like an entire city to look like a ghost town after a few ICE raids. And it's not just people on Twitter speculating this, right? Yale, this was a study from Yale. This is from Yale Insights. Yale study finds twice as many undocumented immigrants as previous estimates. Generally accepted estimates put the population of undocumented immigrants in the United States at approximately 11.3 million. A new study using mathematical modeling on a range of demographic and immigration operations data suggests that the actual undocumented immigrant population may be more than 22 million. Yale, they used, I'll read this paragraph here, that using mathematical modeling on a range of demographic and immigration operations data, the researchers estimate that there are 22.1 million undocumented immigrants in the United States. Even using parameters intentionally aimed at producing an extremely conservative estimate, they found a population of 16.7 million undocumented immigrants. I'm not going to read through an entire study here on the air. But we can look at some of the methodology here that they use to come to this conclusion. This wasn't just them spitballing, right? This wasn't them just, walking around a Home Depot and taking a head count. They brought in some these, and I mean, we're talking Yale here. I mean, you really think Yale wants to produce something like this that looks so bad for the left? Like this was, I mean, they're probably wincing putting this data out. It probably caused them tremendous pain. You almost feel bad for them a little bit. Anyway, here's some of the metrics that they use to determine. The big one was population inflows. This was their main method, their main variable. Population inflows are decomposed into two streams, quote, undocumented immigrants who have initially entered the country legally but have overstayed their visas, and immigrants who have illegally crossed the border without being apprehended. So visa overstays, this is actually the big one. I think when people think about illegal immigration, they assume it's like people on the border with like a pole vault and they're just hopping over the border. It's actually a bit more complicated than that these days. Visa overstays. Here, Yale, they discuss approximately 41% of undocumented immigrants based on current survey data approach are visa overstays, which translates to a visa overstay population of 4.6 million. They actually project the overstayers to be less than this, because again, this is kind of the conventional thinking of how people arrived illegally into this country. That is, in our model, most undocumented immigrants are not overstayers. The model produces an estimate of the number of overstayers below the estimate produced in the conventional approach based on survey data. So the DHS 2016 rate, specifically 1.1 times that rate, for a conservative estimate to generate as many overstays as the 4.6 million and the 11.3 million estimate. There's a lot going on here. Since many overstayers leave or adjust their status within a few months of their visa expiration date, we make a further conservative adjustment and count as overstayers only those individuals who have overstayed for more than 1 year. This is where they bump up their estimation, is the illegal border crossers. We estimate illegal border crossers through application of the standard repeated trials. The model requires input statistics on a total number of border apprehensions, the number of individuals apprehended more than once in a year, and the estimates of the deterrence rate. look, all this to say, during the Biden years, the amount of border interactions were sky high. Even Obama, right? People kind of mock him. They call him the deporter in chief. But the deportation numbers were heavily inflated purely because he was deporting people that he had already allowed into the country illegally. Or sometimes even they would deport someone at the border and they would log that as a deportation. Like the Trump deportations, in large part, are in the interior of the country, right? They're conducting ICE raids to remove the people, versus the Obama one. I mean, they would like show up, cross the bridge, and then deport them, and then take a victory lap. Like, you know, they're super tight on border security. You know, there's a lot of information here, but yes, Yale is pretty is pretty confident. Look how many projections they have here. This is the currently widely accepted estimate of what 11.7 million. And just about every possible estimate that they gave overshot this, you know, by millions. And you can just see this. I mean, there is so many articles over the last decade of school districts in heavily immigrant neighborhoods having huge overflow in class sizes. Like Queens, New York. I mean, if you go on, I lived in Queens for a long time. You'll pass by a townhouse that's like a 3-4 bedroom, and there'll be 20 people packed in there. And this is very common, and everyone knows it, and everyone will tell you this. There's not really a way to count those people, right? And so, yeah, I think it's fair to speculate that the number is far higher than 12 million. Yale, obviously, they're estimating 22 million. That's 22 million spots in the United States that require resources, that require infrastructure, that require jobs. That's 22 million places that are being taken from Native Americans, right? Americans or even legal immigrants. It's a spot that's taken up, and it's nuking our quality of life. So all this to say, this Trump census, this is a great thing. He needs to get this done. He needs to get this across the line. Even, you know, people are, you know, saying, oh, well, it's only going to win 1 or 2 seats over. If anything, it's just so we know where we stand, right? That's the, and also, like I said before, with the federal resources being reallocated and everything, there's much more at stake than just a few House seats here, right? This is setting the tone. This is prioritizing Native Americans over illegals, which is sad that we even need to do that. But you look at the Biden admin, that seemed to be the case. So all that to say, fingers crossed that we can get this across the finish line soon. But there's still a lot of pushback, right? There's still a lot of people that don't know what time it is. I'll say that. This is from the Post Millennial. Penske issues statement condemning use of trucks for DHS immigration raids, was silent on use of trucks for human smuggling. So I mean, you probably saw the video. I believe Tim covered it. We also covered it on IRL. This DHS raid in Los Angeles. They were packed in the back of a Penske, like a big box rental truck, maybe U-Haul where you live. They all popped out of it. It was actually, the video was sick. I don't know if they have the video. It was super. This one too. Yeah. So, do they have the video? I should have pulled that up. Anyway, the video was kind of sick. It looked like a Rainbow Six Siege mission or something. But anyway, let's get into the article here. Penske Truck Rental issued a statement Wednesday distancing itself from the use of its vehicles in a recent DHS immigration raid in LA, despite remaining silent on a previous incident where a Penske truck was used in an alleged human smuggling operation. Here's the quote from Penske, or a statement rather. Penske Truck Rental is aware of recent reports and videos regarding a Department of Homeland Security operation in Los Angeles. Penske strictly prohibits the transportation of people in the cargo area of its vehicles under any circumstance. The company was not made aware that its trucks would be used in today's operation. It did not authorize this. Penske will reach out to DHS and reinforce its policy to avoid improper uses of its vehicles in the future. Let's see if we can find the Following Penske's statement, DHS fired back on X, posting, care to remind the American people what Penske said when this happened? And they posted a screenshot of a headline where Border Patrol discovered 58 illegal immigrants crammed inside of a Penske truck during a human smuggling incident. Also, Posobiec dunking on him. Roger Penske was awarded a Presidential Medal of Freedom, which is hilarious, and then now he's snaking. I mean, it's so tough because that's going to be like the big tension, right? That's going to be the big tension between corporate America and MAGA. Is corporate America is like fundamentally built on cheap labor, and so any threat, anything that shifts the national mood more in an anti-immigration direction is a huge threat to the bottom line for a lot of these companies. I mean, Penske probably in this case, this is probably not that complicated. They were just feeling the heat. There was a lot of people mad that, they were using a Penske. But in the grand scheme of things, it's going to be really tough to win these companies over to the, reduce immigration camp because, like I said, fundamentally, there's huge profits on the line for them, and it would be a huge disaster if we cut off the tap and they had to hire exclusively Americans. I mean, could you imagine the horror? Penske, sad stuff. That's all I got to say. Grow some plums and back Trump here. We're trying to save the country, and maybe we'll use U-Hauls. Maybe me and the boys, next time we need to have a function, we need to rent a truck. Maybe we look at a U-Haul. I don't know if U-Haul would ever do something like this. So Obiek, yep. Penske hates Americans, noted. So true. Who doesn't hate Americans is Brooke Rollins and RFK Jr. It's actually kind of surprising to see cabinet members not constantly counter-signaling American patriots. It's a beautiful thing. During the Great Americans Farmers Market, this is from the USDA website, Secretary Rollins removes unhealthy food from SNAP. So this happened a few days ago. I was also at the farmers market. It's really sick. I don't know if it's still going. I think it's all week, but you got to get down there. Saw Big and Rich in concert. It was pretty sick. You got to get down there if you're in the DC area. So what was this, Monday? They signed, Secretary Rollins signed an order to remove unhealthy food from SNAP. SNAP benefits. This is like government subsidized, government food subsidies that people use. But what I loved was the videos that were coming out of this, the meltdown. This one here, Wall Street Ape shared this. Yes. Let's see what's. I probably should touch on this a little more because I don't know if we reported this. Let's see here. So prior to these waivers, SNAP recipients could buy anything except alcohol, tobacco, hot and prepared foods, and personal care products. This historic action expands the list of products excluded from SNAP purchases in West Virginia, Florida, Colorado, Louisiana, Oklahoma, and Texas. The amount of crap. There was a list. I probably should have pulled that up. Sorry, rookie, amateur. It's like amateur hour. Anyway, there was a list of a lot of foods that you could buy on SNAP, and it was like the most disturbing thing ever. It's a no wonder that this is the first time in human history that the poorer you are, the higher the obesity rate is. Pretty unprecedented. It usually is not a problem. I think ancient humans would be shocked to hear that the poorer you are, the more obese you tended to be. But looks like RFK is on the case, and I think it was Scott Greer on last night. He was speculating, maybe it was Phil, that RFK is working in tandem with ICE. He wants to get some of these people that are maybe struggling financially. ICE is offering a pathway out financially, right, with these new benefits. Maybe the no EBT is trying to get him off of junk food to get him in shape so then they can work for ICE and help out with the operation. Anyway, Wall Street Apes, yes, brand new no EBT signs being put up in convenience stores. Let's take a look at the video here. This is absolutely hilarious.
They really own that. They say no EBT. No, they own that. The food stamp EBT is over with. I can only buy steak, chicken, vegetables, no snacks, no nothing. I can't get no more chip. You feel me?
I mean, he's like losing control of the chips. He can't believe it. They on it is actually a very great way to put it. I think that might have been an official statement from Secretary Rollins. Is we on it? Could be. I'll take a look at the press conference, but they are indeed on it. This is also a great video. When you find out Trump ain't playing no games, SHIT will have you behind the register. So,
they got 67.51. So what's the message?
The Reese's, they didn't take the Reese's.
They didn't even take the Reese's. I mean, In some worlds, that is healthy, right? Peanuts like occur naturally. That's healthy. As you can see, yeah, a lot of the EBT users, right? There's a lot of them. They're not happy about this. They're even getting behind the register to intervene here. I mean, things are getting serious when people are stepping behind the register. Trump's not playing games. He wants to make America great again. He wants to make America healthy again. And it's crazy the pushback from Democrats on this. Like, they're so upset. And it's like, is the goal not to improve the general health of Americans? I mean, the left has been really pushing hard for universal health care. If you want universal health care, you're not going to get there when you have like one of the fattest, unhealthiest countries on planet Earth. I mean, we go toe to toe with like the Pacific Island countries. If you look at the obesity rankings, you're not getting your universal health care until you get a country that looks like Colorado. I mean, Coloradans are probably are the healthiest state on average, and that's the minimum. Because you go to countries that do have universal health care, and the way they regulate their food industry, I mean, it's intense. People always point at Europe as an example of a heavily regulated food industry. The primary reason for that is because they have universal health care and they can't afford, right? They want to save costs on having people in the hospital all the time. They don't want to poison their citizens because, yeah, like I said, if you poison your citizen, you're going to be in and out of the hospital all the time, and the government's going to be on the hook for that. So they're regulating the food industry to save money in the long term. Obviously, in America, we don't have universal health care, so maybe that isn't as much of a priority. But if you're a leftist, maybe you should embrace RFK's MAHA. Just saying, that could actually benefit you quite well. We saw the immortal Stephen Colbert, right, calling RFK Jr. a, quote, roid-addled Nepo carny after cutting vaccine funding. This is from the Rolling Stone. Why on earth is RFK Jr. so anxious to fill our streets with dead bodies? So this is some top tier comedy, obviously. This is a real head scratcher to figure out how he got canceled. I mean, this is just nonpartisan, just easygoing, late night humor, right? This is great stuff. I don't really want to watch the video because, like, who cares what Colbert has to say? But let's just say Stephen Colbert is not impressed that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has cut $500 million in funding for vaccines. Let's see. It had the video. Anyway, the left's furious, right? They're so upset about MAHA. And like I said earlier, it's hilarious because RFK was on the left. He was a liberal, conventional liberal, and all this MAHA stuff was left coded. I'm even growing up. I'm not even that old, and I remember growing up. They called them like granola people, right? These are these granola Americans. What's going on, guys? I mean, do you want? If we're talking about why are we so anxious to fill our streets with dead bodies? Heart disease is the number one killer in the United States by a long shot. If we want to keep dead bodies off the streets, I think it's going to have to start with not letting people buy ho-hos and ding-dongs on Snap, EBT, and these sorts of things. Thank you for watching this segment. We'll be back tonight at 8 p.m. for Timcast IRL. We'll see you there.